Don't tell you how to drive the ship. Don't tell me how to kill sexy aliens. My name is Matthew Kroll.
And the board isn't part of her body. My name is Shahir Dowd.
And this is the only podcast about movies, specifically the film The Fantastic Four First Steps.
Is it The Fantastic Four?
The Fantastic Four First Steps.
Really? I do this gag every time. Is it The Fantastic Four? You know what's cool? You know what's cool? No, wait,
What?
sorry.
What's cool, Shahir?
I was going to do the Social Network line, then I realized it wasn't a million isn't cool, a billion's cool. I was like, the Facebook. Look, I
don't know where you're going.
You know what's happened here today?
What?
Okay, I'll reveal some behind the scenes here.
Great.
Is that typically I'll come in with my laptop, and I'll have like stuff in front of me. I'll have like IMDb pages, Box Office Mojo pages, but I'm trying to make a real conscious effort not to use my laptop and phone at home when I'm in front of my son, for example. So I decided to write my notes on paper.
I see that.
So I brought with me just a piece of paper to this recording. And you know what? It has thrown my mojo off.
It's okay. Listen, when I opened the door to let you in, the first thing I saw was, at first, because I only saw your silhouette through the very small window that's in my thing, and I saw a bunch of papers.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this a fucking canvasser? I was like, Shahir is technically 10 minutes early. This could be a late night canvasser. No, it was you with your notepad.
Excuse me, Mr. Kroll. Have I told you about our Lord and Savior?
Yes, you have. And
Rick's Reed, as it turns out. Thank you, everyone who's joining us. And actually, just as a little follow-on from that, I guess, because I think you did this as well, which is that you deleted a lot of your social media accounts, or just don't.
I don't actively do them. I don't use Twitter. I don't use Facebook. Although I did like hunt down an address I needed on Facebook the other day. But like, the only real way to actively get a hold, and I don't really check Instagram. I check Instagram once a week when I upload the podcast picture. For instance, like we haven't even like Jamie and I both haven't done like an engagement post. I don't think.
Look at you two. Wait, are you going to set up a Jamie and Matt Instagram page?
Yeah, Matt, me, Jamie, Matt. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, it's just going to be on Good Boy Laszlo. And I don't use it anymore. I use Blue Sky and I talk on Twitch.
I've done a similar thing, which is that I still have my social media accounts, but I've deleted them off my phone because I just want to release myself from the active engagement kind of thing and just kind of, be a little bit more present where I can. So the reason I mentioned that is that if you are, if you're messaging us on those platforms, I'm still on Instagram. So that's one where I'll stick around for a bit because I tend to post my photographs and things like that. My cool cat pics. Such
cool cat.
We're just trying to like ease back on that. And I know in the podcasting world that we live on right now, where we're trying to like be more active on social media, that is probably foolhardy. But I think we're just kind of like, you know what? We do this for us and our mental health is important to us. And so we're just kind of easing back on that. You can still always email us in at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com. But if you are messaging us on any of the platforms and we're a little bit slower to respond, that's the reason why. It's nothing personal, we're not trying to avoid anyone. We're just trying to ease back a little bit.
And also, to be perfectly honest, Shahir is the one that tackles a lot of the email culling, and I was not on the ball while he was away. I did mark a couple that were still kind of going on.
And so look, I don't have my laptop in front of me to pull these up, so you're gonna have to read them.
I can actually. I mean, we could do this kind of on the fly.
Let's do it.
I think, okay, let's see. Jacob wrote in a while ago, about 28 years later, an anecdote. Jacob said 28 years was definitely a bit all over the place, but the Bone Tower short film in the middle was fantastic, and I wanted to share a little bit of behind-the-scenes factoid I came across that can relate. The skull that was used, this is, I guess, some spoiler alerts, but I'm going to modify this so we're not spoiling anything. The skull used was a replication of one of a specific actor's skulls achieved by LiDAR scanning. So it's like actually the actor's skull.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn cool and bonkers. If you want a non-spoiler way to share that fact, he even gave it. He said an important skull in the film was replicated by LiDAR scanning the actor. Look at that. Nice. So that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jacob. And then I believe, let's see here. Oh boy, this one's long. We're gonna have to trim it down. I'll do another one next week.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for email. We are in summer hours, which means our office hours are a little bit shorter than they used to be. We close up shop a little bit earlier if we can. And again, it is just because we want to be a little bit more present in our lives. You have lots of things going on right now. You're planning a wedding for Christ's sake. I've got a lot of stuff going on at work and home, and I'm just trying to be a little bit more present where possible.
I'm heading out to, actually, by the time this airs, I will just be back, I believe, from Gen Con.
Oh, nice.
Which is cool, which is the largest board game and tabletop convention in the country over in Indianapolis. I've been once before, 6 years ago. I will have been helping run the Cyberpunk Legends card game, which I think like sold out its playtest in like 19 minutes. So I'll be over there with James Portnow and a couple other folks from Night Crew Games and running playtest. Maybe one of you came and played with me and learned how cool that game is. So yeah, I'm all over the damn place. Then I go out to Seattle like 2 weeks later for PAX West.
Nice.
We're doing a talk on the new Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater reboot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was the rebooting.
Oh yeah, well I guess remake, not reboot, but yeah. So yeah, we're a little bit scattered, but listen, it's summer movie season, baby.
And just one final note on that, I have occasionally posted what our upcoming schedule was, but we've kind of rearranged them on the fly. The one movie that keeps getting shuffled just a little bit down, not for any particular reason, because spoiler alert, it is a fantastic movie, and that is Sing Sing. It just keeps getting shuffled down a little bit because it is a film from last year.
Yeah.
That we wanted to tackle this year, but as new releases come out, it kind of just gets pushed.
Yeah.
out.
So for instance, we've recorded a bunch out of order, but we do have Sing Sing and we have K-pop Demon Hunters still coming after this one. So we'll all catch up. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Could you tell us what Matt Shankman's Fantastic Four First Steps is about?
I sure can. The Internet Movie Database says that, quote, forced to balance their roles as heroes with the strength of their family bond, the Fantastic Four must defend Earth from a ravenous space god called Galactus and his enigmatic, I can speak, herald, Silver Surfer.
Now, the Silver Surfer is a really important character in the Marvel universe, right? Really?
Listen,
and Galactus is as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, but they're Fantastic Four folks, and they've been around for other things too.
Yeah.
I personally, and listen, maybe you're going to shut this podcast off right now.
Yeah.
I don't like the Silver Surfer.
Okay.
I think it's one of those things that is like just batshit enough for me not to vibe with it. Like, I'll vibe with Galactus. Galactus is a cosmic entity that looks like a giant dude that eats planets. Like, fine. That seems like something that could have somehow come to existence in one of the myriad of galaxies, but you're taking a very specifically human thing of surfing and you're just making is a surfer and he's Silver Surfer, and like I get that there's a rich history with the character, and I get that he's the Herald of Galactus followed by many other things, and this isn't even the that Silver Surfer. We're I believe this one, and this is Shala Bal, which is the female presenting Silver Surfer.
Okay.
And that's from I think had a very short comic appearance or run. Nando from Nando V Movies, I'm sure, would be able to tell us all about this, or Patrick or someone else. But I conceptually, I think the Silver Surfer's one of my least favorite Marvel characters.
Okay. Okay. Well, that then nullifies my next question, which was who is the Silver Surfer and why are they important?
I couldn't tell you because I didn't pay attention.
Oh, okay. Well, I remember in Tony Scott's film Crimson Tide, Quentin Tarantino was brought in to do rewrites, and he rewrote a whole monologue about the Silver Surfer. There's an entire thing about the Silver Surfer in that, and that's about the extent of it, as well as the Joe Satriani music album cover with the Silver Surfer on it.
That's right. And there's the 2007 film Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Right, and so it is an important canonical character within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as we've determined on this podcast from previous years. I'm not one who knows a lot about this stuff.
I don't think it's important in the Marvel movies. He's been in one movie.
Really? Oh, no. In the Marvel universe. Sorry.
Sure. In the comic book universe.
Yeah.
Yes, I suppose. But again, I can't tell you. Like, okay, I have a fairly knowledgeable background in like the history of what's happened in the Marvel comic book universe.
Yeah.
Granted, you get into C-list and D-list tier characters, and I start falling off. Silver Surfer probably falls, in my opinion, in the C-list, but even so, I know people do really like the Silver Surfer. I don't even know what the real Silver Surfer's like actual
narrative
name is, because Shala Bal is the one here, but the one that Doug Jones played in 2007. Doug Jones was also at the premiere of Fantastic Four First Steps, which is lovely, doing his like classic like lean forward pose. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Other than being the Herald of Galactus, and then like having a change of heart, maybe kind of sometimes. I don't care.
Well, then tell me about Galactus, because does Galactus actually eat planets? There's a moment in this movie where Galactus picks up a tree, and I was like, is he going to eat that?
So he kind of does
Yeah.
in the comics. However, I do like the way. Actually, it might. I have seen comics where Galactus does eat planets, like put them in his mouth
And chew.
But I've also seen things where it's like he's just a giant dude in a giant ship that like does kind of what this movie does.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because there was a sort of physics of this that I didn't quite understand.
Yeah.
In terms of like, that planet seems like it's going to be more than just dinner for this dude. He's going to be feasting on it for a while.
Yeah, you gotta. Well, it takes a long time to get places.
Yeah.
You know.
But I did like Ralph Ineson's performance there. Great voice that we saw in the pitch. Before we move into the movie, we should point this out that of several films that we have done in the last few weeks, Pedro Pascal has been featured in many of them: Materialist, Eddington. And now Fantastic Four. It is the summer of Pedro Pascal. He's also on The Last of Us on HBO Max.
So I've been hearing that there's like a backlash
Really?
to him now, and I'm like, why? He's just good and stuff.
Yeah.
Is it because like, man?
I think it's oversaturation.
We
I really-
as
yeah.
humans suck. Like, yeah, he's everywhere because he's cool and like neat.
He was Gladiator 2 as well, right?
Gladiator. Well, that was last year, right?
Was
Yeah.
that last year or this
Yeah.
year?
I don't know.
Anyway, it feels like it does feel like we're seeing, and I think from I'm going to put my agent hat on here,
Oh.
which is that, if I was his agent, I would think a little bit about like, there has just been perhaps a series of unfortunate coincidences of like releases, like where there's consecutive releases week after week of a new movie with Pedro Pascal on it. I don't personally think that that's a bad thing, but we know that the market is a fickle place. And when people see too much of a person, they can turn on that person.
So weird.
I also remember he was the lead in a Spike Jonze commercial for Apple, for Apple Music, I believe, or maybe for the AirPods. I can't even quite remember. So yeah, he's everywhere. He's great. He's wonderful. The interesting thing about all three of those performances, I haven't seen the second season of The Last of Us, is there is like a definite underplaying, I think, that is happening. Like,
How so?
Okay, so I'll speak specifically to Fantastic Four. I did find the performance. Feels like going to be targeting the performance itself, but I also think it was the direction here was a little flat, and I felt like all the performances in this movie, Vanessa Kirby included, was a little flat. And the way I would describe it is, it was so across the board with every actor that I wondered if the direction was to play this in a slightly different register than we typically see with a Marvel movie like this, where people are shouting and have like, quippy one-liners, like,
Well, Johnny and Ben shouting this.
Johnny Storm kind of has the most one-liners, but even I found everyone in this film kind of playing it at a slightly quieter register than what I had typically expected. And I'm still mixed on whether I liked that or not. I liked it in so much as it felt different to what we'd seen in Marvel movies before, where everyone just sort of shouting. Like, again, Deadpool versus Wolverine would be the counterpoint to this, where everyone's playing it at a massive register. This felt much quieter, and I generally, found it a little flat, but not a deal breaker.
It's funny. I don't disagree with you noticing a difference in the cadence, but I don't think the performances came across as flat to me. I think both Vanessa Kirby and Pedro Pascal as Sue Storm and Reed Richards really came across. So the thing I appreciate is it did feel different. This wasn't Doctor Strange again. This wasn't, a different character again. This was like, these feel like new people, and the family dynamic is something that outside of Guardians, and that's even a found family, like you don't get that in a lot of these other movies. It's either a lone person that finds friends or something like that.
Yeah.
This was really nice because every one of these people, every one of the Fantastic Four, I felt like this movie, I don't think like did the deepest psychological delves into them. I think what it ended up doing really nicely is show more of a deep dive into what the actual family unit is, more than any other on-screen representation that I've seen. For instance, I really love, and we'll get into this a little bit when we get into spoilers, but I'll sort of hint at it now. I really love Pedro Pascal's Reed Richards started to at first, he's just kind of like a kind of like quiet, awkward guy who's super smart, right?
Yeah.
And then you kind of get this part of Reed that's always my favorite in the comic books where like he is too smart.
Yeah.
Tony Stark is super smart, but I would never say that Tony Stark is too smart. Reed Richards is too smart. And he's smart enough to know that he's too smart.
Self-aware.
And that means that he is like, he can almost never be happy.
Yeah.
Because he's the person that has to think of everything. And when you inevitably think of everything, that has to be draining. And I haven't seen a Reed played like that. And I think there's a level of that subduedness that you're catching there that is like sort of like the character, like just having to like stay the fuck calm. Like, I think there's a narrative reason for it. As far as Sue, I think I really like Vanessa Kirby's Sue Storm because Sue Storm does this in the books too. She's kind of the one that can change her tone based on who in the family she's around. And I think there's lots of people in families that can kind of do that. Like, it just in general, I know in my family, I feel like I am that person. Like if I'm talking to my mother or talking to my father, I can be a very different person.
Yeah.
I like how she is quiet and stoic and caring and loving when it comes to when she's with Reed. I loved there's a moment where Ben and Johnny are sitting around and Sue, who can just turn invisible whenever she wants, just appears on the bed, like sitting with them. And they both freak out, like, don't do that. Like, that's the kind of shit that, like, that's some real mom vibe joke, like, in a way. And I don't know, I felt like they were, when you're balancing four characters, especially in a movie that, like, we do not get an origin story. We get a sizzle reel from a talk show and an alternate 1960s retro future aesthetic, Earth 826. Yeah. Which I believe was a date that was pertinent to Jack Kirby. I can't quite remember which that was, but I really liked how they played against each other so they always felt like they had always existed, which is something that I think is very, very hard to do in these movies. Like you don't have to have seen, this is the first Marvel movie in a while where I think this is true. You don't have to have seen a single Marvel movie to enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
This is a contained piece of cinema, which is insane for the 40th or whatever movie that they're on now. And so I don't know. I really appreciated the bit more subdued. I like the promise of the Marvel Cinematic Universe to me was always that we would get a bunch of cool stories in different, for lack of a better term, vibes.
Yeah.
Either genres or tones or vibes or whatever. And this was a vibe of a movie that in the Marvel sort of scape, I have not seen or had not seen in a very long time. And I don't know. I really dug it. It felt different enough, but like not, I don't know. It felt like it could stand on its own, but also like I wanted it to connect even when it didn't, And it's very rare that I'm like, ooh, I want it to connect more, please.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the thing that you're talking about, which is that it didn't feel like it was connected to a grander universe. Although I know that at some point the Earth 826 will in some way connect with the larger Marvel Cinematic Project in some way. And, like there's no fighting that train. It's going to happen, whatever. But I kind of like the idea that it wouldn't necessarily. Of course, at the end, there is a large spoiler that demonstrates how it would connect to the rest of it. I also, I think Matt Shackman was the director of WandaVision and a bunch of TV as well. Really, really leaned into the sort of Saturday morning cartoon vibe of this entire project, which actually really, really worked given the sort of the way that the story was told, in terms of like the simplicity of it. There's a sort of both a retrofuturism idea and sort of a nostalgia to, back when I guess Americana sort of represented something more than just what it is right now. And in today's current climate, that could be a little dangerous given where we're at in the world, but I think it is actually done with a sort of sincerity here to the actual comic book origins of the story and the Saturday morning cartoon styles of it. So I really like that. The big thing for me that actually made this work, and I hate sort of doing this, but I'm going to because I sort of briefly mentioned how I didn't vibe or didn't enjoy James Gunn's as Superman recently. And the real reason was like, with James Gunn's Superman, I had actually a hard time just kind of like figuring out what that movie was actually about and what was going on in a lot of cases. And the Trey Parker, Matt Stone famous story beat thing kind of came across my feed recently, and I was thinking a lot about that in relation to Superman and Fantastic Four. So the famous one is Trey Parker and Matt Stone are talking about how they break South Park stories. They always say one of the big things that they learned was that between story beats there should be a therefore or a but not a and then.
Yeah.
And like my feeling when I think back on the events that happened in Superman, I'm always going, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then
I
this
got a lot of therefores.
and then this happened. That was my vibe with that film. Whereas Fantastic Four, as simple as it is, there was a real clear, this happens, and therefore this happened. And the stakes were really clear and understandable to me, which is that there is a giant world-eating monster out there, and it wants your baby. What are you going to do? And that's like a real clear dilemma. It's not even like you're just going to give up the baby. It's like, no, that's the baby. And so, watching this, myself and two other families went to this movie. There was just a real clear sense, including with people who haven't watched a lot of Marvel movies. There was just a real clear sense of like, well, that's the stakes of the movie. It's really straightforward, really easy to understand, really, really easy to kind of invest in. And it really works. So I actually found the whole thing kind of refreshing just in terms of like a clarity.
Sure.
Like a clarity of storytelling as well, in terms of like, and also in terms of the fact that that story is really clearly related to what the film wants to be about, which is that you don't abandon your family.
Yeah.
And even within that, there are subplots that speak to that, specifically the Silver Surfer subplot line as well, which really speaks to that. Like how do you operate as a family in the face of an imminent threat to that family unit? I
will say, I think that this movie was the only time I ever cared about a Silver Surfer.
Right. Yeah.
I think what they did with Shala Bal is actually like really fucking cool, and I hope that this isn't actually the last time we see her.
Given the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I doubt it very much. But so I found that it really, really worked as a straightforward story. I know that sort of seems like a low bar, but then, when I think back to Thunderbolts, which is a movie I actually quite liked, the complexity of what's actually happening in that story in terms of like, what is the larger mythos of the world and what is the grand conspiracy that is going on versus the internal logic of what's going on with this character. And there's this superhero that is, a shadowy figure as well. It's like, oh man, that's, like when I think back on it, it's like, it's hard to remember what the details of it were. The Fantastic Four is really straightforward in that respect. And when we've talked about, storytelling in that way, it's not obviously on the same level, but it's like kind of like Mad Max, which is that the stakes are really simple, clear to understand. You really, like follow along with it as you go. And that's a hard thing to do well.
You can have complex stakes, but how they play out doesn't have to be, but it's always best when it's very clear.
And that is coupled with an aesthetic or a stylistic choice here to make this feel simplified like the Saturday morning cartoons. There is a sort of aesthetic simplification that is going on as well. It is not overly convoluted. At times in the beginning of this film, I found some of the visual effects to be a little clunky, like things didn't quite composite as well as I would have thought, but I was like always here to give it the benefit of the doubt and to kind of forgive it because there was a clear aesthetic choice that was being made, and anything that kind of didn't like fit the traditional Marvel version of this that I, had kind of grown accustomed to was like, okay, this is not that, and that's okay. And so I actually really like that. Circling back to the other thing, when we were talking about Pedro Pascal and
you mean Ben Grimm?
To that thing.
Do you see what I did there?
I really liked his beard, by the way. It was really.
I do like it when the thing grows a beard.
Yeah.
I think it's fun.
It's very nice. There was a sort of a weird thing, but again, I didn't mind it, which is that Rix Reed's power of stretchiness.
You mean Reed Richards?
Reed Richards. Sorry, who's Rix Reed? Rix Reed is the film critic, by the way.
Sure.
Yeah. Sorry. So Reed Richards' power set almost felt incidental to him entirely. Yeah. Like there's he's a master theoretical physicist who can problem solve anything, who happens to be super straight sheet.
Yeah.
And I was
That's
like,
Reed Richards.
and I was like, oh, that's cool.
And listen, they get wacky in the comics,
Yeah.
but I like that this was like
Yeah.
not the hyper wackiness. Like he could use it to jump and bounce and do a couple things. And
And again, when there's a clear stylistic choice that is being made here, a lot of that sort of internal logic gets forgiven. And I really, really like that. In terms of Vanessa Kirby, I liked Vanessa Kirby's performance a lot. I think she really walks away as the hero of the movie. Again, watching it with the group of mothers as well, I think it was just like a clear understanding of like, this is what mothers do. And there's a moment at the end of this movie, which is very much like a mother will lift a bus for their child kind of thing. I think the sort of flatness of performance kind of came through to me in the moment where she has to convince the world that their plan is like worth doing.
oh, I liked it. That really worked for me.
But here's what I'll say is that I read it as this is a person who's not used to taking the center spotlight, and therefore her superpower is becoming invisible, and now she is forced to take the spotlight.
Yeah.
So there's a kind of like, what I'm saying is like I could maneuver my way myself through this movie even when I had questions about it.
Well, I think that's what I think you're speaking to some of the things that I mentioned, why I liked the performances, why I think they play. That's another good read, no pun intended, on Sue.
Yeah.
That she's not used to doing that. And it's, I don't know. We talked a lot about Reed and Sue a lot. Johnny and Ben, played by Ebon Moss Bacharach from Bear fame, cousin, and of course Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things, mainly.
Yeah.
What fucking phenomenal casting for this as well. I think Joseph Quinn. It's the polar opposite in the same category of his character in Stranger Things. Did you watch Stranger Things?
I really have not watched. I've watched one season of Stranger Things.
He plays essentially like this like metalhead D&D older kid.
Yeah.
And he's frenetic and crazy and kind of a villain, but then not real. Like it's played up for like that. No real spoilers there, but he has easily the most memorable moments in that last season of Stranger Things.
Right.
Or maybe it was a season before. I can't keep track.
Yeah.
And so to have him be Johnny Storm in a version of Johnny Storm that like feels, even though this is in a retro future, like 60s sort of aesthetic, futurism, like Fallout, but no nuclear weapons dropped. He doesn't feel like he's my favorite kind of Johnny Storm. He's it's sort of like he is the heartthrob kind of one, but he's also not like a womanizer like the Chris Evans version, and he's not like
he's not Michael B. Jordan.
He's not Michael B. Jordan. Here's the thing about Michael B. Jordan's Johnny Storm.
Michael B. Jordan.
No, but I also don't remember his.
Yeah,
like I don't that's not. I just don't think he had a lot. I don't think that movie gave him a lot to do.
If we talk about that Fantastic Four, the Josh Trank version, at any point, it'll just be, and I actually think that episode we did on that particular film is a really good one. Not that our other episodes aren't good.
That's the only good one.
It's the only good one that we've ever done. Because there's an interesting thing there, which is that I think you and I both fell under the spell of like what the first half of that movie thought it was going to be.
Yes.
And was like, I kind of want this. But then that is such a great example of a movie that is abandoned midway through.
Yeah.
To the extent where like, I think we've talked about this as well as like Kate Mara, who plays Sue Storm in that one, her wig changes in the middle of a scene, I think, or in the middle of a sequence in that film. And you're just like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
They've clearly kind of just abandoned this movie. So as far as Johnny Storm goes, I think it is a Saturday morning cartoon of the Playboy version of this character, which is that it's somewhat inoffensive.
Well, he's more like really interested in girls, but he's not out there being a dick about it.
Yeah. He also is tasked with a job in this film.
But he tasks himself with a job.
Yeah, he tasks himself with a job, which is clearly a job that Reed Richards could do. But he tasked himself with that job. And seems to execute it well, which makes you go, oh, okay, this guy's not just here as like muscle or hired.
Well, it's funny because at the beginning of the movie, Reed's like, so I needed to do this space mission. So I got the 3 smartest people on the planet, all my friends and my wife. It's like, okay, nepo, space travel. But no, the thing I really liked about Johnny, so the thing that Sheer is mentioning is Johnny basically hears, or the Silver Surfer, Shalabal, says something to Johnny, and he realizes after he listens to some of Reed's recordings of Deep Space Messages that it's the same language. Like, so once he talks to the Silver Surfer and realizes what she said and what it means, he had a baseline to basically translate the language. Now, I really like this because his interest initially really does come from the fact that the Silver Surfer is hot.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
right. But then it becomes like Johnny's interest. It makes him pay attention to a thing that Reed doesn't think is important.
Yeah.
And it turns out to be important. And it shows that like their solution, spoiler alert for Fantastic Four First Steps, they win. They do win as a family due to all of them, not just because Reed came up with the best plan and they implemented it. Like it's the Johnny's sort of like, for lack of a better term, like horniness for space aliens actually came into play and was helpful to the plot of the movie.
It's wild, right?
But like, it's really smart. There's really smart things like that in here. Specifically, to be perfectly honest, I think the second act of this movie is the best fucking act. Like I could not believe. So they find out the Silver Surfer comes with like, your plan's marked for death. Bye. And then Reed and the gang have to go to space to find Galactus to see if they can reason with him or stop him.
Yeah.
And there's a sequence where they find Galactus' ship and they go in, and my big worry about this movie was like, how do you fucking make Galactus seem threatening? He's so funny.
Yeah.
It's just so fun. It's a big
dark.
purple dude.
Yeah, he's very dark.
Yeah. And I found myself actually, for the first time in a long time in a Marvel movie, kind of like being like, oh, this isn't just like a threat that's scary. Like, this thing, this person, this entity is scary. Like, I really liked and again, there's some questionable composition of green screen and things like that in that space because you're in the spaceship. But again, I feel like because the rest of the world, even in its practical sets, was a little more like fantastical in whatever way it was dealing, I let that slide more.
Yeah.
I feel like when they are sort of when they piss off Galactus, when they decide they won't give Franklin the baby, the unborn child that Sue is carrying, to Galactus because he has the power cosmic with him, and Galactus sees him as something that can free him from his eternal hunger, which I think is also something that's kind of eldritchly terrifying. I always love it when I love it when these movies like touch on something like that and make it a really interesting point. I think the High Evolutionary in Guardians 3 like has moments where like they'll say something that speaks to a deeper, weirder evil that you like, that's not what the movie's about, but it's still under the surface. Like, I like Galactus being like, God, I just want this to stop.
Yeah. My hunger must be satiated.
Yeah. And so when they refuse to give Franklin, he goes ham, makes Sue basically go into labor.
Well, she was probably
no. He initiated, like, there's his eyes glow and she goes into labor.
That's right. Yeah, she does.
And so they're running away.
I just questioned Reed's decision to take his 8-month pregnant wife into space.
Yes,
at this moment.
But then the scene where the Silver Surfer is kind of chasing them out, Again, big CG nonsense mess. But I was like, for the first time in a long time in a big CGI nonsense mess, like at the edge of my seat.
This is the same scene that is in Superman.
Which one?
In the Pocket Universe.
But this one's better.
100% better.
Yeah.
It actually almost has the same resolve as that particular scene, which is how they get out of the situation, right? In Superman, there's a scene where they go into a pocket universe and there's a black hole at the end of that pocket universe in which he has to dispatch a villain throughout. And there's almost the same sort of...
they have to jump partial way. They get stuck in a different black hole and they have to slingshot off it to get back
out. It's sort of the same thing. But here's my point, is that it actually kind of like works here because there's a concurrent thing that is happening. That the stakes are very understandable. There is a pregnant woman who is giving birth that they have to negotiate alongside a black hole and a Silver Surfer chasing her. It's like the stakes are so crystal clear and so understandable that it's like then the movie just works.
You have a baseline piece of oh my god situation, which is woman pregnant in a hostile situation. It just so happens that hostile situation is in deep space, running out of a galaxy-eating person's spaceship that's being chased by a sexy silver surfer who is now getting grinded into a black hole they need to navigate to get home. And it's like, oh. Shit.
Yeah. So it all kind of works. And again, I hate to sort of bring it up in contrast, but I guess we didn't have the Superman conversation between us. But I found like with Superman, I was like, why are they there? What is going on here? Let's not rehash it. But you know what I mean? There's like a lot of like, oh, why was he in that place? Whereas in this, I was like, okay, that's why they're there.
We don't have to rehash it. I never questioned the why of what was happening in Superman. I think this story in Fantastic Four is cleaner.
And much cleaner and much clearer. And what that cleanliness and clarity does is it makes the stakes understandable and you're along for the journey. And that's my only point there, is that I was along for the ride on this one. And I felt that everything really worked. And I like Rick's, what I love. Sorry, Rick's. I keep calling, Rick's Reed is the former New York Times film critic.
What did Rex Reed think of Fantastic Four? Let's look it up while you're talking.
While I'm talking. Reed Richards' planning all was really, really smart to me, or at least really understandable. Which is that the first thing he would do was try to teleport the planet away. Now this is obviously preposterous, but in a Saturday morning cartoon kind of a vibe. Where his conflict was, there's a giant thing coming towards us that we cannot stop. Our best plan is to hide the planet. That made perfect sense to me. Then when the stakes are elevated by the fact that the Silver Surfer appears at the last second and destroys this sort of nation building.
Oh my God, it was so sad.
But it was so, again, because now as a viewer, I'm going, what are they going to do now?
Yep.
And then he comes up with a new plan. I was like, that's what they're going to do now.
And it also plays into a lot of different things. So when they get back, I really enjoyed this. When they get back, they're obviously shook because they just got fucked up and they barely get home. And then everyone, the press just follows them around and they're like, oh, we're fine, right? And Reed, because he's fucking Reed Richards, is like, no. And they're like, what'd they say? And then Reed, again, because he's fucking Reed, is like, oh, well, he said he'd spare the earth if I gave him my kid. But obviously I said no. Yeah. And then he didn't put Reed is one of Reed's weaknesses, in my opinion, is not understanding how a normal person thinks. Yeah. He's just so far beyond it. Yeah. So he was very verbal about the very clear, oh, well, I said I wouldn't kill a child. This is obviously correct. No. And then everyone's like, what?
Yeah.
And then they all kind of turn against the Fantastic Four before Sue comes out and says, I think a very sort of meaningful thing. She won't sacrifice the earth for her child, but she won't sacrifice her child for the earth, or it was either vice versa.
Yeah.
But I love that they had Reed do that.
Yeah.
I also love that Sue and Reed had the conversation where he openly admits, he's like, oh, I've thought of it.
I've thought about it. Yeah.
I have to think about it. This is what I fucking do.
Yeah.
And it was a real it felt like the arguments I've had, for instance, with loved ones in my life, be it Jamie or someone else, where you both are not angry at the other person, but you are upset at where the other person has landed, and you're trying to navigate something you might deeply not agree with. Never at that scale that this movie sort of touches, but you know what I mean? There's something really rich when characters do that, especially in a movie that's like a cartoon Saturday morning nonsense superhero thing. Yeah. And so when Sue and Reed are navigating Reed having to admit, or wanting to admit, because he wants to be honest, that he's thought about sacrificing his son to the mother of his son. That's fucking deep, cool, stuff that's grist for the mill. Is that the phrase? There's the something for the mill that you can really chew on that. It's something that's really interesting. And I found it was refreshing to have that kind of, for lack of a better term, dark honesty in the movie. And so I really, really appreciated that. And I appreciated how it's all in service of the story.
Yeah.
Reed finally realizes what he needs to do through Sue's speech. Something she says clicks with him. He decides to try to move the earth, which again, big cartoon thing. Also, they spend 15 minutes showing like how the earth comes together, and they like conserve power, and that's how you know it's a comic book movie, because no one would ever fucking do that.
Yeah.
And they're like ready to do it. And then you're right, Shahir, when the Silver Surfer comes and just starts fucking all those things up, you do have an oh shit, what are they going to do moment.
Yeah. How's the, like what's great there is that there is the sort of like almost Rocky montage of them building up to this singular plan and all the nations kind of like falling in line to do it. There's obviously sort of a strange idealism about the way power and authority works in this planet, where everyone listens to the Fantastic Four, who are not, as I understand it, an elected body. They're just superhumans who
they're superhumans. And again, like, I guess, look, if you've proven time and time again that you are the smartest person alive and you're a good person, sure,
and you live in a world with the existence of mole people, so
Mole Man's in this. Well, can we go back? I kind of love this.
Before we do that, comes back to that point that I made earlier again, which is that the stakes of that are so clear, the plan is so clear, everything about this is like really laid out, and it's and the sort of the clarity that I'm speaking of doesn't make it seem dumbed down, because there's a stylistic choice here that makes all of these choices make sense, which is the Saturday morning cartoon vibe of it. There's not too many surprises in this. Well, I like, I like the moment when the Silver Surfer kind of destroys the plan, and I like the moment when the Silver Surfer kind of is the Deus Ex Machina for the end of the film. There was a sort of weird moment that we had in our theater. We went on like opening night, Friday night at 7 p.m. and there were just people applauding in the theater at certain moments, like standing up and applauding. And I was like, and there's a moment where towards the end of the film, obviously spoilers at this point, where it seems that Franklin will be able to revive his mother. And it's obvious that is what is going to happen. But there was a person in the theater for whom this came as a revelation.
It worked for them.
And I was like, and this is the same person that was applauding throughout the movie. And I was like, I'm kind of wondering if they've seen many movies before at this point. But again, I still think clarity, cleanliness with storytelling mixed with a stylistic choice that actually really works. It may sound like the bar is low for me in this respect, but I found myself really appreciating the sort of confidence of the material that it was on display here. Like everything kind of felt really well considered, well understood. As always with these things, the least convincing part of this will always be the attempt to sell me the other movie as we're walking out the door. Because now I'm starting to do the mental gymnastics of how this connects to the other films that I've seen. Hopefully the thing that but what actually happened for me was that I just didn't care, and it didn't like affect the movie I'd just seen in any way.
This is my favorite kind of referential stuff, because it's there if you want it. And I do. Num, num, num. Latveria at the world of the League of Nations or whatever, the seat is empty and you're like, oh, fuck, where's Victor?
Yeah.
I have a theory about that. But I know you don't care, so I won't go into it. Yes, I will. Who am I kidding? So basically, I have a theory that because spoiler alert for the very end of the movie, in the post-credit scene, you see from the back Doom in his green cape holding his mask in one hand, reaching out to young Franklin, who Shahir, this is something I don't know if you're familiar in the comic books, but so Dr. Doom isn't just Victor Von Doom isn't just like a villain in the Fantastic Four pantheon. He is, but he also has a really weird relationship with Sue and Reed and that family.
Right.
And Sue, as illustrated by dealing with Lionel, not Lionel, what am I saying? While dealing with Harvey Elder, the Mole Man, and a couple things. Sue has a way of like befriending all of the villains in a way. And so there's a moment in the comic books. This is where the Fantastic Four's second child is born, their daughter Valeria.
Right.
That Sue is, I don't remember exactly what's happening, but there was something where like Sue was either going to die or there was something wrong with the baby or something like that. And Victor was the only person that could work with them to save the baby. And he saves the baby. And that's why they name her Valeria, because that was, I believe, Doom's mother's name or something. Like, so like she now has Uncle Victor.
Right.
Like, and so he makes this weird deal with the family where like he can visit her whenever she wants and like whatever. Right. He also fucking hates Reed.
Right.
Like, so there's this weird, like he's a known entity that is kind of in and out and they don't trust, but like he's a known quantity. So my theory is that Doom, because they hint at like Reed figuring out the multiverse at some point. Mm-hmm. My theory is that Doom figured it out years before, like maybe right before the time of this movie. And the reason why we see two Latverian things where there's no one in the seat is because he is in the comics. He's the ruler. He would be there. He's the guy. He doesn't have other people to do that. I think that he started multiverse hopping and just wasn't around for any of this. And I think that essentially, because the new Avengers is called Doomsday, I think that the thing we see at the end of Thunderbolts with the Fantastic Four ship coming in is actually Doom needing their ship to go to another universe. Okay. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff, but like this is
and
the
it
thing.
Also looked like Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, I have a theory about that too, but it's fine. We don't have to get into it. My point is, in this movie is the way that I want this shit done. You don't need to know any of that. If you don't care like you don't care, it doesn't hurt the movie. Yeah. If you don't care about those things, I could see a world where that could even hurt Thunderbolts. I could see a world where that hurts Multiverse of Madness. Like I can see a world where this really does hurt the movie because we've seen it countless times at this point.
In the case of Thunderbolts, it was the sort of sense that the group reorders itself back to sort of a stasis that, is going to restart for the next movie. So at the end of Thunderbolts, there's clearly a scene that was shot well after the movie where everyone's hair is kind of different. I think
that scene was directed by the Russo brothers.
Yeah. And it's like, well, okay, you're kind of talking about a different movie right now. I like that in this, it's one shot. It's one enigmatic shot that kind of like could suggest a whole lot more. But it doesn't actually change the dynamics of the movie.
Changes nothing
that you've just seen. And so I actually appreciated that a lot more.
The thing I didn't want, and I'm glad they didn't do it, was, well, now the Fantastic Four has to go explore the multiverse, and that's why they leave. Like, I was like, well, because you see their ship at the end of Thunderbolts, I'm like, fucking A.
Yeah.
And I like the idea that, like, no, that's not them.
I don't know. But
I like the idea that this movie didn't tell us that. I like that it just sort of existed and it was in its own little space. Let's talk about the Mole Man. Let's talk about actually the Mole Man.
Paul Hauser who plays him?
Paul Walter Hauser.
Yeah.
A great job. I think so fun.
Subterranea?
Subterranea is the whole thing. And I like, again, it's a Saturday morning cartoon solution. They evacuate New York City in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But
there is a I think I did read an essay about the Marvel Cinematic Universe's, or actually superhero movies, obsession with eliminating collateral damage. Like in every movie recently, there is like, we will evacuate the city in 10 minutes.
But like, I don't know. I like fun. That. Like, unless there's a story reason to have cause suffering on the scale of tens of thousands of people, like, that does kind of take Man of Steel is an illustration of that. It takes the fun out of the big slapdash beat 'em up.
But I think the analysis of that is that ultimately they want to be the filmmakers want to be able to destroy the city without any of the sort of residual feeling of guilt that they would.
I want to see the city get destroyed without all the people dying. Me and the filmmakers have that in common.
Well, but I guess the alternative would be like to actually, I guess in some ways like this film does, and in many ways like Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight Rises does, is move all the characters underground. Like in The Dark Knight Rises, they take the entire police force and lock them up underground. In this one, they take the entire population of New York and lock them up underground.
I like that the Mole Man had something to do here, and it makes sense why they cut John Malkovich's Red Ghost.
Oh, was he?
There was a whole subplot with, I believe the character's name is the Red Ghost, and John Malkovich,
Red Ghost?
Another Fantastic Four villain. You don't need to know about it, but like I bet initially that, and it just probably got too complicated, that like it was a multi-pronged plan to evacuate the city, and the Red Ghost and Mole Man and Reed Richards all kind of worked together to do it.
Imagine being the producer having to call John Malkovich and say, "I'm sorry, John Malkovich, your part has been cut."
I can't remember. I read the interview, but there was a moment where Matt Shackman had to do that,
right?
And that's a rough call.
I would love, because there's a fun story about John Malkovich on the set of Rounders, the Matt Damon film, John Dahl, I think, directed it, about poker, where John Malkovich turns up on set and does this weird Russian accent, and Matt Damon's like, "What the hell is that?" And John Malkovich goes, "I gotta warn you, I'm not a very good actor." And so I would have loved him to pull out that Russian accent. He's like, "Where's my money?"
Oh my god! Yeah, I have no idea, but yeah, I believe Red Ghost is the character's name. I want to double check that because
it's hilarious. It's hilarious to me that John Malkovich was in this movie and got cut.
Yeah, from Variety.
Wild.
Yeah, it was. The director says it was heartbreaking not to include him. But basically, it's one of the earliest villains in the quartet of villains in the thing.
Yeah,
and it's supposed to be Malkovich's scenes were supposed to come early in the Fantastic Four, part of the lengthy sequence detailing the family's early years as superheroes.
Yeah.
And they talk about the Red Ghost and his team of super apes in the beginning of this movie. But yeah, they say the quote, there was a lot of things that ultimately end up hitting the cutting room floor. Shackman said, when we were building a 60s retro future, introducing all these villains, introducing all these four main characters as a group, as well as individually, introducing the idea of a child, there was a lot of stuff to balance this movie, and some things had to ultimately go in terms of shaping the film's final version.
I will say one of the things that does feel a little shortchanged in the movie is Ben Grimm and his sort of burgeoning relationship with Natasha Lyonne's character, who, if I understand it, they stay in their synagogue or church or within the film. I think there's I
think they're packing up.
There's a plot line there where they aren't leaving or they are leaving.
I think they are.
Okay. And Reed Richards, sorry, not Reed Richards, not Rex Reed either. But Ben Grimm kind of feels like he has the least amount to do, but he's sort of oddly the most interesting visually, and he's the most interesting in terms of oh, that's a really big story. It's like, imagine having the Hulk as a sort of background character in your film.
Yeah.
And, I think it's not a deal breaker, but he is the character that kind of gets shortchanged in terms of stuff to do with the finale. He's not that involved with the actual plan. He does get involved in construction in some way, but we don't really see it. And when it comes to the final sort of push back into the black hole or whatever it is, that
the portal they knock Galactus into. They try to use him to do it, but it doesn't work.
But it doesn't really. He doesn't really add up. Johnny Storm has a clear arc in that sequence. Reed Richards has an arc in that scene. Sue Storm, without a doubt, has the strongest arc in that scene, which is that, again, I will lift up a bus for my baby kind of thing,
or push Galactus,
or push the entire weight of Galactus. That is how strong motherhood is.
I still can't get over how they pulled off Galactus. Yeah. They legit. That was the thing that I was always worried about this movie. I was like, there's no fucking way.
Right.
There's no fucking way they make me scared of Galactus.
I mean, I don't know if I was scared, but I think, again, Ralph Ineson is such a key component here. Black Phillip from The Witch, also The Office. Just he's got that voice, where it's I really believe whatever it is you're telling me at this moment. And especially if you're playing a dude that is apparently, I don't know, 60 stories high, he towers above the Statue of Liberty. There's a fun moment where he glances back at the Statue of Liberty.
I love there's some good throwaway lines too, when they're trying to trick him into going into the portal, and they realize it's not him, and he goes
puny.
He goes clever little bugs,
clever little bugs,
and they just turns and leaves. You're like, fuck, and you're like, I don't know. Galactus as a character, is interesting.
Yeah,
apparently Galactus is the last living person in a dying universe. It's the last form of evolution or some sort of thing in that place, and he travels the multiverse and he eats the planets.
He's also got connectors in his back to keep his battery charged,
the fuel cells of all the stuff that he's eating. His ship is chewing on the planets and feeding him that planet juice to make him function and sate his hunger. I also really do like Shala Ball's sort of turn with Johnny Storm uses the language to have her basically short circuit, or not short circuit her, but really get to her about the death of her people,
get to her and involve her daughter.
And you find out
another mother.
Yeah,
by the way,
it's Shala Ball's story is literally kind of an opposite of what could happen. She doesn't sacrifice her child; she sacrifices herself for her planet.
Yeah,
and
she's been. At one stage made the sacrifice of taking me to save my planet, And in exchange for that, she has been the herald of Galactus, which means that she has had to bear witness to all the planets that he has devoured, which means, she has as a person with a human, or at least emotionally human backstory, those deaths have meant something to her. It's kind of the opposite of Squidward from Avengers Endgame, right?
Oh, God damn it! What's that character's name?
I just call him Squidward because
that's what Tony Stark calls him.
Yeah. But the children of
the
Thanos.
magician. Yeah.
It's the opposite of that, which is that he does have she has guilt for the things that she has seen, and it's a really clever ploy because it's also tied into motherhood and family.
Yeah, and it's funny. If there's one sort of, I never fully understand any version of this. Like why? Like I get that. Like this is the thing. Like she has to do this to keep her planet safe.
Yeah.
This is the clearest way I've understood the Silver Surfer doing this job. Kind of seems like a weird job to have, and also
require, the job description says requires balance and precision.
Well,
and surfing
but also why does Galactus even want to tell anyone this is coming?
Yeah,
I guess
just turn up, bro.
Yeah,
you don't need to announce yourself here. It's not a
yeah. This isn't an airport. You don't have to announce that you're leaving or showing up. I don't know, but I really dug this movie. I thought it was way better than I expected, and it was just nice when the sum of all these parts come together. And it's not like the dialogue has been like, oh, Marvel's dead, Marvel's back, Marvel's dead, Marvel's back.
Yeah.
I like this kind of Marvel's back more than I like the Deadpool and Wolverine, all the money Marvel's back. Not that movie, again, that movie has grown on me, but I think like a fungus.
Yeah.
But this is a movie that I would be confident showing this to any person that liked a sci-fi thing. You don't have to like Marvel. You don't have to like whatever. It's just, this is truly a self-contained story that is all of the things that I like about Marvel movies, along with some new stuff and some new vibes and feelings that I haven't seen before. And that's kind of all I want from these things.
I like that we went with three families. Usually in these situations, it's often the case, and it's not intentional, but it's often the case that the dads will take the kids to the movies kind of thing. But the moms came along to this as well. And while I don't think any of the moms was like, oh, this thing was amazing and this was one of the best movies I've seen, or any semblance of that conversation, we've had that conversation before. It was I would not under any circumstances allow my wife to watch Deadpool versus Wolverine because it would be such an offense to her time. This was not one of those cases where it was I was she came, she watched it, she enjoyed it. And she was happy that she saw it, kind of thing, whereas if I even Thunderbolts, which I don't think is a bad movie, I don't think I would, it would be offensive for me, not offensive, but it would be like an imposition for me to ask her to watch that movie.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Thunderbolts has its own charm, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Whereas this, I seem to be harping on this point, and it's just because it's such a counterpoint to what I had felt about Superman, is that this is such a clear, understandable, well-told, confidently handled story.
Was it more confidently told than the Snyderverse?
Than Man of Steel? 100%.
Okay.
Yeah,
wow. Okay. So, I was bracing for impact. I do think you've been red pilled, and I think you are slowly moving to signing a bunch of petitions that will go nowhere.
I haven't watched Rebel Moon yet.
I know I'm the one that wanted to watch Rebel Moon.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You're really, wow.
No, I do not want to. I think I watched.
You're just getting a tattoo of it.
It's just Man of Steel. That's the only thing I'm talking about.
No, that's how it starts.
Was it what does he say in Batman? That's how it starts. The anger,
the
rage. Yeah.
Talk to your kids about this.
Rage.
Talk to your kids about the Snyderverse before someone else does.
Yeah.
Anyway, this has been the only podcast about the film, The Fantastic Four: First Steps. Shahir, when you are not building a teleportation system to save your family by moving your entire apartment across the galaxy, where can folks find you?
You can find me in my new zip code at www.suvanova.com. That's SUVANOVA.com. Matt, when you are about to give birth And while flying into a black hole, where can people find you?
You can find me breathing and pushing at my website while watching
You got to bear down.
Bear down and while watching the classic film Junior over at my website. Extra history and extra credits on YouTube. Oh, Zoe, I don't know if you can hear Zoe, but she's very, very mouthy. Zoe's on those channels. Please go check out that stuff. And also, is there anything else coming out that I'm kind of doing around this time? I don't know. Zoe doesn't even know. It's fine. Next week, I think, unless something else happens, it will be K-pop Demon Hunters. And then maybe it'll be Sing Sing unless there's another movie coming out that we forget and we have to record next week.
A fun thing that I've been doing with my my son and his friends, who have all been listening to K-pop Demon Hunters soundtrack, is that I am putting on music from the 1990s and saying these were our demon hunters. And like
Jesus.
like the one that I love right now is, do you remember Color Me Bad?
Yeah.
All for One. I put that on. I was like, these were my demon hunters.
Wow.
I will never leave you. No, not this I guarantee.
And do the kids like it?
No,
Yeah,
not
of course
at
they
all.
don't. No, of course they don't. All right. Anyway, we'll hunt at you next week, everybody.
What?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound right.
Why?
Bye.
Bye.